Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have two crazy revenge stories for you. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave comments so we know what kind of stories you love the most. Don't fire people who don't work for you. I'd taken over running a small development team of 9 for a relatively big company. We were there for basic, quick little bits of software that wouldn't make sense to outsource. Web apps that quiz employees on policy, fancy interactive projects to show off at conferences, or just an extra pretty PowerPoint, etc. The guy I took over from ran the team like we lived in the 1980s. So I brought us into the modern age, and surprise, surprise, within a few weeks our team was finishing projects left and right and center. I won't go into it here, but if any tech nerds are interested on how bad it was, I'll reply in the comments. Everything was going great. My coworkers could take smoke breaks and listen to music, our internal clients were kept up to date with their projects, and my boss thought I was some kind of software prodigy as productivity had gone through the roof. Honestly, this was more indicative of how bad it was before rather than anything I did. Then comes Dick, short for Richard, of course. Now you know Dick, you probably have a Dick at your office. They've been there too long to fire and delight in slapping people in the face with their seniority, regardless of whether or not they have anything to do with you. First, he sends us a project and marks it critical. As in, everyone stop what you're doing now, this needs to be done yesterday. I politely send him a message and ask if I can move it down to medium priority, as there was little to no time limit and we had other projects to deal with. He replies, no, it needs to be done now. Get to it. I'd like to remind everyone that he's not my boss and has no authority over me or my team. So I CC my boss and the other department heads, who we had projects for at the time. Hi all, hope you're enjoying your day. Dick has asked me to work on this project for his department. However, he wants it to be done now, which would delay your projects. Would that be okay with everyone? Turns out that's a no, and I downgrade his project. Now Dick starts to live up to his namesake. A week or two later, I check out our Trello task management software and notice Shia, fantastic programmer, great person, was falling a bit behind. I go to ask her what's up, and she looks like she's about to have a panic attack. I ask her what's wrong, and it turns out Dick had threatened to fire her if she didn't start working on his project immediately. I calm her down, let her take a break, and tell her to start working on her regular projects and to send Dick to me if he gets uppity. I then fire off an email to Dick and my boss, reminding him that 1. Any threats of termination need to go through me and HR first. 2. Who works on what projects and when is determined by our schedule and myself. 3. If a project's deadline is moved up, I should be informed directly, not via my team. Turns out Dick is infamous for making threats like this, but because nobody took them seriously, I was the first to remind him he had no authority over other departments. I didn't find out until later, but apparently he had a meltdown at the boss about how incredibly disrespectful I was. He tried to file a formal complaint, but it was rejected because doing my job properly isn't actually a problem. Who knew? At this time, I accepted a better job and was going to put in my notice, but I wanted to wait until after our latest project. Let's call it the Ninja Report was done, and it was a big deal to my team. This Ninja Report was part of a presentation by a company bigwig, boss's boss's boss, and was marked critical, so all of us were working hard to make sure we did a good job and got it in on time. Now, finally, we get to the revenge. So I'm plugging in a switch under the desk when someone taps me hard on the shoulder. Just a minute, mate. I stand up and stare directly into the red face of Dick, erect with fury and ready to expel his rage all over the office. I'm not your mate. You need to learn your place in this company, blah, blah, blah. As this grown man is screaming at me in full view of my team, it suddenly dawns on me that I get severance, have another job lined up, and really have no reason to deal with this. I want my project done now, he continues to yell. Now, I could have told him about the Ninja Report. I could have said a lot of things, but I just smiled, looked him in the eyes, and said, as long as I'm working here, the schedule isn't changing. Predictably, Dick responds, then you're fired. I grab my things and leave. As I'm leaving, one of my team comes up, looking like a deer in the headlights, and asks what they should do. Easy. First, I want everyone except you to stop working on the Ninja Report. Second, at the end of the day, send an email to the boss and the bigwig, let them know what happened, and explain that the Ninja Report is going to be a week late. See y'all for drinks on Friday. I wake up bleary-eyed the next day to a call me. Hello, boss? Hi, look, I'm sorry about what Dick said. He doesn't actually have the authority to fire you, and the ninja report can't be late. We need to fix this. Me. Oh, I'm sorry, I've actually accepted another job. But don't worry, I figured this would happen. I asked one of my team to work on it privately. If they start working on the ninja report again, should be able to get it done on time. My boss tries to get me to come back, but I make it clear that wasn't going to happen. Recommended one of my team to take my job and thanked him for the opportunity. He's pretty cool about it, confirms I'll be getting severance, and tells me he can use me as a reference. Friday drinks roll around, and we have a lot to celebrate. The ninja report was done on time, and given everything that happened, it made my team look great. I got a new job, teammate got a promotion, and the bigwig was really eager to learn why his subordinate fired the lead of the team he picked himself and nearly tanked the project. I'm proud to report that the office is now 100% Dick-free. He's fired. Nice revenge. Well done. Thank you for not littering this story with 20 sets of initials to represent the people involved. And our next story. Contractor screws me out of $1,500. Good luck finding someone else to do the work. I got hosed by a residential construction contractor years ago. We'll call him Mark. I'd done 3 projects for Mark prior to this one and had no issues. For this project, Mark wanted the plans for a remodel and add-on based off some photos and hand sketches. It was about $1,500 in work, which was a lot at the time. I delivered the first draft. Mark was quite happy with the result and would be consulting with the client over revisions or acceptance. He said he'd get back to me as soon as he had some news about the project. Typically, I would just run a tab on something like this, as there's no limit on revisions and updates until the project is finalized. Everyone understood that the meter is running when I'm working. In nearly a decade of this line of work, I've never had any problem with anyone paying. So after delivering the first draft to Mark, I waited on the revisions. It was a pretty decent-sized project for me at the time, and I was looking forward to it. I waited and waited and waited. 3 weeks went by. He wasn't returning my calls, so I sent him a bill. 2 days later, Mark called and said he didn't get the job, so he wouldn't be paying. Whoa! We didn't have an agreement of me getting paid if he gets paid. I get paid for my time regardless, and never work on a bid arrangement. He still refused, so I told him to take a hike. Also, let some other freelance CAD guys know about him. We were competitors, but there was so much work we would refer projects to each other if we were overloaded. I resigned myself to losing that money. It wasn't actually money lost, as all I had invested was my time, but that's time I could have spent working on another project that actually paid. My time is where I make my money. I didn't have materials I would mark up or subs I managed. I was a one-guy operation, so yeah, it sucked. 6 months later, Mark calls, all buddy-like with me. He has a big project with a tight deadline and knows I'm the man for it. He's laying it on thick with me too, like I'm a great friend he hadn't talked to in a while, telling me that I'm the best at my job and so on. I knew exactly where this was headed, so I played nice with him, and I'm sure Mark thought it was all water under the bridge. The next day, I sent Mark a bid that was high, about 50% more than my typical rate, tacked $1,500 onto it, and told him I wanted it all up front. Mark called 10 minutes later and wanted to know why the price was so high and payment required up front. Those were not the terms of our previous projects, so I explained to him, as he seemed to be suffering from selective amnesia. Mark starts begging me to do the project. This isn't a bid, he claims. He actually has the project in hand. Mark's also apparently having trouble finding someone to take on the project. Apparently, he'd managed to stiff all the good operators in the area and worked his way back to me. I told him I'd be more than happy to take on any project he had once the $1,500 was paid, and all further projects would be paid up front. I never heard from him again. He didn't get the project either, even though he claimed it was locked up. Mark's wife actually owned the business. It had an effeminate name, and they used this woman-owned construction business as a selling point in ads and at trade shows. I'd guess 2/3 of their clients were landed just on that piece of deception. The wife was mainly just the face of the company and the marketing point. She wasn't involved in the business beyond that. So when Mark started complaining about difficulty getting subs to work with, she started calling around. I heard through the grapevine that she was told off several times. Anyone who's worked with a construction subcontractor knows they can be rather blunt, to say the least. They weren't just screwing the CAD guys, subs in every category had been stiffed. A year later, Mark and his wife were sued by multiple subs and customers. Mark really screwed up a few houses, putting in the wrong flooring, getting paint schemes wrong, and so on. They lost these court cases and tried to get out of it by filing bankruptcy. They got a few dismissed, but not all of them. Last I heard, they got divorced, and he was stuck with a lot of the debt because she was able to prove she wasn't involved in some of the decisions. But she had some debt too. Hey, thank you guys for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.